spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Golden Aura, we have our South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing himself, currently teamless, but deserving to be on the team, leading the series 1-0. It is a NightMare. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the Chinese Protoss player, the Red Protoss. It is XingMing. Here we go. Again, we were unable to get eyes on the first game, unfortunately, but we were able to jump in mid-series to determine the winner and determine the opponent of Shin. As Shin is waiting in the next round, waiting for the winner of this series. Who's it going to be? If you're in the chat, you know what time it is. It's time to get your Gamba going. Predictions are now open. Place your bets. Again, NightMare is the favorite player. NightMare is up in the series, but upsets can happen. We saw Rebellion taking a map off of Shin earlier. Likewise, XingMing can also try to pose a threat to NightMare as well. Let's go. For now, 2-gate opener. 2-gate opener from NightMare. 2-gate opener from both players. So far, so good. There's no proxy out on the map. There's no pylon. There's no setup. No cheese. No all-in yet. Alright, sorry, I'm catching up with the chat. Could I use a VPN in a tournament to make it less laggy when playing Europeans? When playing against Europeans, I don't know if that helps too much. For when it comes to Australian players, usually VPNs, they help out mainly when routing to the Singaporean server and routing. I mean, it helps. Routing to the Singaporean server, routing to the central server as well. Most pro players and myself, we use Mudfish. Mudfish is quite cheap, and Mudfish specifically does help with kind of like game server routing as well. So yeah, do consider checking it out. I think most SC2 pros use Mudfish. For StarCraft. Timing, though, we do see NightMare attempting to delay the expansion, going for his own setup, and getting into his initial opener. It's going to be double Stalker from NightMare as he does move out across the map. Meanwhile, I believe Stalker Sentry from our Red Protoss player. So a bit of a more safer, more macro-based opener here by our Red Protoss, and NightMare is poking in. Does poke in, does threaten the natural, trading with the Stalkers. Hoping to bait out a force field as well. Meanwhile, a Red Protoss player going for the hallucination scout into the main, just keeping an eye on any kind of hidden tech. There's no Stargate, no fast Twilight Council, no Robo. It is going to be our initial Twilight Council opener here from NightMare. And XingMing does confirm. Does confirm. Meanwhile, we do have NightMare just scouting. He's checking for proxy pylons, proxy stargates, even a ninja base. Both players just all over scouting here on Golden Aura. I mean, the map is very large. It's very prone to proxies, so both players are just playing it out safe. Whether it's hallucination scouts or stalker scouts, both players are all over it. They are all over for the time being. Third base now being taken. So far, just, yeah, pretty chill kind of setup here from our Red Protoss player. Get into his third, settling in. There's no big gateway explosion out of NightMare. He should be taking his own third base as well. Slightly later, slightly more delayed here compared to his opponents, but is expanding. And we're settling in. Gonna be settling in. Oh boy. Hallucination confirms there is a third. So XingMing can rest easy, getting his shield battery. Robo follow-up Forge +1, Immortal production, potentially Disruptor as well. We're gonna be here for a while, but let's go. I mean, especially on Golden Aura. Meanwhile, we do see XingMing getting distracted for a moment. NightMare going for the pylon. Oh, does have Blink. Decides the pylon. Blinks away. XingMing unable to quite punish. So nice pickup. Behind this, NightMare getting to +1. Charge lots. Likewise, looks like so is his opponent. Both players taking in the similar directions. No one is rushing into Disruptors. Just Charge Lot, Stalker, into eventually Archons as well, I would imagine. Charge is delayed for our red Protoss player, and hopefully we get into that soon. That is a little bit concerning. There we go. Charge now starts up. There's the Temple Archives for Archons. NightMare should be heading in a similar direction, and we're just building up. Are just building up, calming things down. Just constant scouting from our players, just making sure that there's no big sign of aggression. So far there is none. I mean, I say that we do have the War Prism on the way initially for NightMare, and this should be for a move out to reinforce across the map. On top of that, NightMare has actually still not thrown down the Templar Archives. That tells us that without any Archons, I mean, in a longer, later game, NightMare's going to have a bit of a harder time. Looks like instead he wants to go for a more decisive move out here and now. Does poke in. Okay, going for a drop towards the main. See if NightMare can pull XingMing apart. As the main army's moving out. As the Road Protoss moves out, NightMare is moving in. He is moving in. And more Chargels, more Archons as well. I do think that NightMare is actually in a bit of trouble here. There's no shield battery. No shield battery, no Chargels. Okay, Chargels now coming in. There's an Archon to deal with them. NightMare fighting back. Zell dropping to the main. Probes are falling. But he will lose the fourth. Fourth Nexus goes down. There's a defensive Zell warp in, but is being cleaned up. That's going to be 17 probe kills in the main and the natural. Ay, ay, ay. And NightMare dealing critical damage. Even hallucinating some of these Immortals. Also, some of these Archons. Archons, they tank some shots. Overcharge gets popped. XingMing trying to break through. The overcharge puts in a lot of work though. And does our red Protoss player have enough here to break through? One real Archon does morph in. Force fields by a lot of time. And there's Immortal on the way, and it looks like NightMare, he barely has enough. Just barely. Takes down the final Archons. There's one Archon left. Does fall as well. And with Zealot reinforcements, NightMare, he should be able to hold. And across the map, the Zealots is still wreaking havoc. They've still not been cleaned up. GG gets called. NightMare, he defends, he attacks, and he will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. I was a little bit concerned that NightMare just barely wouldn't have enough to hold on, and he even had to throw down some hallucinations just to buy a little bit more time. Was able to. GG. GG, well played. And now we are getting ready for our next series. We're getting ready for our next match.